Welcome to our school's podcast. Here we're going to show you how teachers, parents, and pupils can share advice, tips, and know-how to bring the best out of all of us. Learning is a joint experience, and through our series of interviews, we can all learn more and achieve even greater things. Here is this week's host.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of Georgia Gwinnett College. Welcome back to another exciting podcast here today. This is the Grizzly Talk Podcast with your host, Kennedy Patterson, y'all. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, GGC. We're gonna slow things down just a little bit on today's podcast. We all know, we are all aware of what's going on in our world today. So, of course, I wanted to talk about it here on our podcast. I am going to say this, and, today is a different podcast because I am a bit upset. I'm a bit angry. I'm not going to bring too much politics into this because I don't like to bring stuff like that for this kind of podcast, but I think that this needs to be addressed. So if you're one of the people who just don't agree with what's going on in this world, I would advise you to not listen to my podcast, click off of my podcast, and just go listen to something else, because what I'm about to say it might hurt some people's feelings, but then I don't care if I have to hurt people's feelings just to get my point across. This is our show, the GGC Community Show, but I feel like as the host, and K.L.P. Entertainment is my company, and we, of course, trademarked Grizzly Talk Podcast, so we kind of own this show, but I do have it for our show for the GGC community. So what I'm about to talk about is just some real stuff that I feel that I want to talk about on my podcast, because I am not upset with GGC, not from a long shot, because I know a lot of people who goes to GGC, a lot of RSOs who are within GGC are probably scared to talk about this kind of thing because they're scared to hurt some people's feelings. But I feel like GGC, we're not as vocal as we should be on this matter. The reason why I want to talk about Black lives, they matter. They really do matter, because obviously I'm Black. Your host of this podcast is Black. So I wanted to speak up on this because we are not speaking up. GGC hasn't spoke up about this process and this situation, which as much as I think they should. And that's why I'm kind of upset, because you have all these RSOs who come together and they haven't spoke up yet. And I want to know, why is that? And I'm not calling any RSO out, not from a long shot, and I'm not calling GGC out. I wouldn't dare do that. But why haven't we not spoke up about this? And it just really, that part really bugs me the most, because we have a lot of Black American, African American, Jamaican American that goes to GGC, and we haven't been as vocal. And I think we, as a community, as a school, should be a little bit more vocal about this process, because we're just hiding in the shadows, and we're quiet and we're silent. And I read about it. Silence is not helping us. Now, the protest. I know there's been a lot of protest in Atlanta. There was a protest in Lawrenceville. I can kind of see why people are upset and why people are rioting, because people are upset. I'm upset. We all know about the injustice for George Floyd. And I talked about that in a previous podcast, so I'm not going to go too much detail about that on this podcast, because we already know about that. Now, I don't agree with, things being, certain places being burnt to the ground. My family members brought up good valid points, though. A lot of people are burning down these big high-end companies, but they can, repair. Like, if you go back there was a Target that got burnt down, and the CEO of Target says, hey, we understand. I mean, it's damage to our property, but we got money. We can rebuild that. That's just a store. And I saw this tweet on Twitter and Facebook that you can replace merchandise, but you can't replace human black lives. You just can't. Absolutely, you cannot. This is a movement that we air for change. You know, the Black Lives Matter movement is a social activist movement. It's an international activist movement. It coordinates our African American community. This campaign is against violence, to fight police brutality as well. Truth be told, police brutality happens. You know, it's out there in the world, and it needs to stop. Now, I know I'm just one cat in the bag who's just hosting a show and can talk about it on a podcast, but it takes a whole community to help stop this violence, to help stop police brutality. And this is why people are doing protests, because they're upset. They're mad that innocent people are getting hurt and killed because of no efficient reason. Just last night alone, 2 students, one student goes to Spelman and another one goes to Morehouse, right here in Atlanta. They're just driving. They had no idea of the 9 p.m. curfew. And police drugged them out of their car, tased them, and nearly killed them. For what? For not knowing about the protest, not knowing about the curfew. But yet, these people are getting tased, and it takes 10, 20 Army guys to get them out of their car. And we're sitting here in silence. And I wanted to talk about that specifically on our podcast, because I guess I have to be that voice for GGC, because a lot of RSOs in GGC right now, they're kind of scared to talk about it. And I get it. People are scared to talk about this certain topic because they're scared to hurt people's feelings. But let me tell you guys, GGC community, stop being silent. GGC, RSOs, and departments, stop being silent. That does not help. Now, some people agree with it. Some people may not agree with it. And I get it. Some people think, burning down buildings and burning down restaurants and destroying business owner companies. I agree with that. I don't agree that people should burn business owners businesses down in Atlanta, because they work hard for it. There's a rapper, of course, Killer Mike, rapper native here in Atlanta. He's sick and tired, but he also agrees that not to burn your own home. And for GGC communities, I hope you're not burning your own home. Don't do that. That's not the answer to it. But people are trying to protest peacefully. I've seen it in Atlanta alone, where people are trying to protest peacefully, non-riot, just peacefully, so they can get their point across. That I agree with. I do. I believe that there could be a peaceful protest for civil rights, and to fight police brutality, and to make this a greater country again. Because right now, 2020 hasn't been a very good year. You started off with COVID-19, and now you got this process and situation going on. 2020 has not been fair to many people. So I hope to see a better year. I hope to see 2021 being a better year, because 2020 sucks. And I hate to say that too, GGC community, because I'm graduating in December of 2020. That's going to be a great day when I get my diploma, but I'm still going to be thinking about COVID-19 and the riots and Black Lives Matter movement, just to get our point across. Our chief of police in Atlanta lured down his weapon, and he wanted to hear the thoughts of of our people, of the Black Lives Matter community. Now, I'm going to say on this podcast too, because I know right now I'm probably going to have some student that might be upset about what I have to say. And tough love, I'm sorry. I have to be that guy today. I have to express my feelings. Now, racism is alive in our country. Now, I'm not going to say all cops are bad, because I believe that all cops are not bad. I believe there's some good ones out there, but it's the good cops that are staying silent. people are saying, white people are racist. Now, again, do not have it in your mind that all white people are racist, because that's not what I'm saying. All white people are not racist. Some white people were joining us in our protest the last couple of days. So that I can believe that all white people are not racist, but there's still a handful of them now. I'm not going to sit here and say, the racism doesn't exist. Yes, it does. It still exists. It's 2020 and it still exists. I'm not going to sit here and say that people may not say much because they don't care. They care. They're just scared to. And I think we as a community, especially at Georgia Gwinnett College, we need to make sure that we're very vocal about this thing. And don't be afraid to hurt people's feelings just to make you get your point across. I'm talking about it on our podcast, our school's podcast. I'm talking about this because this matters. This matters. Black lives matter. And I say to every GGC department and organization, I don't care what you decide to do, whether you change your profile picture on your Instagram, whether you have a student talk about it on your Instagram, stop being silent on this behalf, because it's going to make me more upset, because a student can talk about this on this podcast willingly free. And there's a lot of RSOs who may not want to touch this subject because it might be too sensitive, or it might be too scarce, or you may not know what to talk about, or you may be scared to talk about something and you might end up saying something wrong. Stop being silent about this, GGC. That's all I can say about that, because this really, really does matter. It breaks my heart that our country is getting torn apart because of this whole matter, because of this situation. Because I thought COVID-19 will be over, we all will have a rockin' awesome summer. Nope. It's June 1st, and we're still battling COVID-19. The Black Lives Matter, this situation, this is going to be happening for a very long time. This is probably going to take over the whole summer. And it takes a group of people to turn another group of people, to turn another group of people, to turn another group of people to help us protest peacefully. I'm not advocating a riot. I'm not advocating violence with this protest. That's not what I'm saying at all on this podcast. But there's a way that we can speak up about this. It may not be out in the street where you can protest out in the street, but you can do things on social media. You can do a lot of things on social media to help this voice be heard. And that's our slogan here at the podcast: let your voice be heard. So I'm letting my voice be heard about this matter. That's what we pride on. And I encourage every GGC student to let your voice be heard peacefully. So I'm going to let that marinate. Again, this wasn't a call out to GGC. I love GGC. But we're being too quiet. And I don't like how we're being too quiet about this. A lot of RSOs that I really enjoy. So far, I do give a shout out to Grizzly Spectator Union. They were very vocal about it. And now GTP, we're very vocal about it. And if you don't like what we had to say, I don't care. I truly don't care. Because this matters. K.L.P. Entertainment, we own GTP, so it doesn't matter. But that's not my point. My point is, we are being too quiet about this situation, and I just do not like how quiet we're being. That's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news to some people that might be upset about what I had to say. Some people actually might applaud me right now. Some people actually might enjoy this podcast because they can agree we're being a little too quiet, and I just do not like how quiet we're being about this. We should have been said something. We should have been made a motion. So hopefully you guys enjoy Grizzly Talk Podcast. Stay tuned later on this week for more podcasting. Of course, more podcasting. We're going to talk about more lighter news about it. But today I just had to come on the show and talk about this kind of thing. So I'm going to let you guys think about this. Stay safe. Drink water every 15 minutes. I love you guys. I love the GGC community. Now don't twist this around saying that I'm hating GGC. No, I love GGC. I love my GGC community. I just had to say what I had to say. Stay safe and go Grizzlies.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode?